When you make a new thing in Python or really almost any programming language, a constructor is automatically run. So when you make a Flask object, that's sort of the core of this app that we're running, um, it creates a new instance of a Flask application, which is a spot of in memory, and that has a copy of all of the application code. So you just sort of make a copy of that, and that's my app. And we've got init methods all over the place. So Python uses that anytime we create an object. And all of these are essentially objects. And anything with a capital letter is an independent class that we've created. These are often, the lowercase ones are special functions that we're bringing in. Those, they are technically objects in our code as well. They occupy a little space of memory. We can call them, we can point at them, we can pass them around. They're handy little things. But the capital ones are the ones that have a class model built around them. And so every class automatically runs an init method. Even if you can't see it here, one is being run, it's just the one that we're inheriting from. And so an init method is at the core of every instantiation or construction. So the builder, little function that builds the thing. So anyway, here's where this is sort of the most important one, and that's when we're creating an instance of Flask. But that's inside the init method, or the init file in this case, that's run when we're creating our own little app. So in this video, what we're really doing is looking in this file, not this one, but this init method, and we're looking at how our app boots up when we first run it, and more importantly, the user that it automatically creates. And that's something that we want to make sure that you have access to, because you don't want to leave code in your app that gives someone a backdoor to full admin access over your app. You need to be very aware of this piece of your code. So let's walk through what's happening here. A bunch of code. I gave credit to the guy that gave me this initial template. So this is where this is coming from. You should check in with some of these websites to see how their code has evolved as well. All right, so right here we are importing a bunch of different helper libraries that we're using. There's a few that we're coding specifically for our app, but then most of which are the extensions and tools that surround Flask, that gives us the features within Flask or the added functionality that we'd like. And then come the rest of the objects for my app that's unique to my needs. And then we are importing some, this right here is just useful tools like access to our operating system and tools to tell the date and time. But this one is the subject of this lesson, and that has a lot of our key files, like the email address of the account that gets full control over your app. So you can see as we scroll down here, there's a few functions. This one here is the register extensions app, and that's activating all of the little plugins that we have. Our mail, our security, our database, SQL Alchemy. It's like all of the key things that make our app awesome get kicked online in this little method. And so you'll see that getting called here. So this is like, hey, this app that we created, hand it over to this function and pass it around and everything get activated. So it's like flicking all the switches on. And then we're setting up some other stuff here, loading the settings from the settings file. And then a bunch more junk. This is Google this. This is a whole story. It's not especially important right now. But here is the function that I want to call or bring your attention to, and it's registering a function that before the first person accesses the website, run all of this. And this is saying make sure all of my database tables have been set up so that my database and all of the objects currently linked are ready to go. And that should already be the case. So usually this won't do anything. And then what we're doing is making sure that, hey, my Flask security app, I want you to make sure that there is a role for administrator and a role for end user. The reason why that's so important is because my whole app has tests to see if a person has this role. That role needs to exist in my database. So I'm creating that object in my records if it's not already there. And then I'm loading the way that I encrypt passwords. So this is really important because when you write down a user's password, you don't actually you don't write down their password. That would be really unsafe because if someone hacked your database, they could look through everyone's passwords and see, oh, maybe they use this password on other apps. Let me try that. And that's not cool. So we encrypt it. And so I'm loading my utility to encrypt the password, and I'm taking the password that I have written down in my private file. So in this private file here that I won't ever show on camera and that I don't publish that I don't publish to Git either. So in my Git ignore, if I'm saving and backing up my files, it doesn't back this one up. And so this will have a record of what default starting password you would like for your master account, and that gets encrypted, and then we hold on one second. Oh yeah. So we try to get the user with the starting admin password that I have written down in this private file, and if it can't find it, if you can't find it, then create that user with that user email address and our encrypted password that we just scrambled. And it's when I first set this up, I did it wrong, and I encrypted it using a different tool. And that doesn't make sense because the same tool that unscrambles it in order to check to see if it's accurate. The two scrambles have to be the same, obviously. Otherwise, how are you going to know they're the same? One equals the other. So I worked out this solution. I won't go into further detail now, but so it loads the same encryption tool that the app automatically uses when someone types in their password regularly. And then I commit all the changes to the database. And then I use this tool to then add an administrator access. So I give my account admin access. And I update some of the data, like they're a confirmed email account. So I make sure that they've already been, you don't have to verify your email address. It's already approved. And then I write to the database again. The reason why I did this is because I was having a problem running this method with the account just in temporary memory. I had to commit the changes to the database before I'm able to use this ability. And so that you might run into that in the future where it says, hey, this isn't a real user. Because while you've written down on your notepad or in active memory, the app says, yeah, okay, I created a new user. But you need to commit it to the database before the tools that check the database can actually see it. So anyway, so all you need to do is to go ahead and try changing the username, the email address, and password, and then let's boot up the app, and then you can run. We can run it, and let's see. Log into the first for our first time, and so we'll do Python. I want you to run the manage.py file and do the run server command that from Flask script. All right, I'll click on this, check this out, and guess what I forgot to do? I forgot to, hey, sudo my super user do this, run a service called PostgreSQL. I would like you to start that, please. And now it's kicking online. Now up arrow, enter. All right. And so now, haha, and I want to log in. I need the login button. All right, so let's add a login button here, first of all. And so that is in my base template. So inside templates, my base template here. Somewhere here is my nav menu. See, guide, there it is. I'm going to copy another list item. And I always do that. Okay, and this will be login. And what I'll do later on is I'll add a test. If I'm logged in, it'll be log out. If I'm logged out, it'll be log in. And now the href, I need to get the URL. So I could just write login, and that would work. But it's not as consistent and reliable if I did URL4. In fact, I think I want to use URL4 security, and that's just because we're using Flask security and it has these extra built-in commands. And login, and that should be the command. I'm not sure. I want to double check that, and the way I would double check that is inside the security templates. They'll have a little helper here with like the menu, and you can see URL4 security login. And so that's how it's loading that. So I think I got that right. Yeah, I'm just going to paste over it just in case, because I'm like that. Oh, and I'm just making myself more work. This is what I'm doing. Okay. And now that should have updated. Okay. All right, that's a hot mess. My goodness. I can't even see the login page. Holy cow. You can see my index is all chunked into these little sections. And I bet my login template that's built in the security doesn't have any sections. So I think I can clean this up just by I'm saying, hey, section ID login. So if I put all of this inside some section, I bet that'll clean it up a bunch. Maybe even I'll go the extra mile. I'll put in a div class row. And all right, there's so much more I can easily do, but let's just see if that cleans it up. All right, that cleans it up somewhat, yeah. I can tell that the login is working because if I try pressing it again, it doesn't load it. It just kicks me right back to the home page because it already tells that I'm logged in. And so you can, I'll go over in a later video how we can redirect the logged in user to a welcoming page or a master account. But in the meanwhile, you have now been able to log in with a built-in administrator account.